So, Mega Man. The story about a blue robot kid who likes to beat up old men. This is going to be one of those, lore explaining videos, where I'm talking about the entire canonical Mega Man games stories and how they all fit together. I'm gonna have to split this into multiple parts, because I don't know about you, but I do not want to be making a 1 hour long video. So, let's jump into it, I guess. Our story starts off with Dr. Thomas Light and Dr. Albert Wily. Basically what happened was Dr. Light's research was picked for it was basically people liked it more than Wily's, and that kind of made Wily jealous. And he stormed off, and he was just mad ever since. The first game in the series is appropriately titled Mega Man, or Rock Man in Japan. The American box art is infamous for a weird, creepy old man on the cover. Like, literally, look at this box art. What was the artist thinking when making this? Was he on drugs or something? The story goes that in the year 200X, industrial robots suddenly began to run amok. These robots were created by Dr. Light, the leading authority on robotics, but were altered by the evil genius, Dr. Wily. It was Wily's hope that he would be able to use Light's robots to take over the world. In order to stand against Wily's forces, Dr. Light made the difficult decision to modify Rock, a robot whom he loved like a true son. Rock was thus reborn as Mega Man, the combat-ready robot. The robots that ran amok were Cutman, who I think was made for lumber-related things. There was Gutsman, who was obviously a construction robot, duh. There is Iceman, who I'm pretty sure is for Arctic-related problems. There's Bomb Man, who is definitely a demolitions expert. There's Fireman, who I think just incinerates things, I don't really know. And then there's Electman, who obviously stuff related to electricity. After Mega Man defeats these losers, he goes on to face some challenges in Dr. Wily's castle, and then Dr. Wily himself. Actually, he has to refight some of the robot masters in Wily's castle, but that's not important. What's important is that he does defeat Wily. And then, that's it. Next is Mega Man 2, a very iconic game. The story is as follows. Dr. Wily's ambition for world domination had been successfully suppressed by Mega Man, the super robot created by Dr. Light. Peace returned to the world once more, but sadly, did not last very long. Despite his devastating loss, Dr. Wily returned with 8 new powerful robots to challenge Mega Man. These robots include Metal Man, Air Man, Bubble Man, Quick Man, Crash Man, Flash Man, Heat Man, and Wood Man. After he beats those losers, he goes into Wily's castle, does some challenges there, he fights the bosses, and ultimately Wily himself. That's it for Mega Man 2. Next up is Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge, or Mega Man World. And here's the story. Thanks to the efforts of Mega Man, the super robot created by Dr. Light, Dr. Wily's ambitions did not come to fruition. Peace had returned to the world, but Dr. Wily had secretly altered Dr. Light's industrial robots once again. Even after everything that had happened, Dr. Wily had not abandoned his desire for world domination. In order to stop Dr. Wily from realizing his dream, Mega Man headed to the city. The story, however, did not mention the new guy, Anchor. His name is based off of Anka, a music genre that is popular in Japan. He is the first of 3 Mega Man killers, which by the name alone, they were made to kill Mega Man. The bosses for this game are some from Mega Man 1 and 2. You go to Wily's space station. After you defeat those guys, you defeat some bosses there, and then you defeat Wily himself, and that's it for Mega Man World. Next up is Mega Man 3, and here's the story. Reformed, Dr. Wily began assisting Dr. Light in the creation of a giant robot, Gamma, to serve the purposes of world peace. But just as it seemed that Gamma would be completed, disaster struck. Something was happening to the robots that had been harvesting energy sources for Gamma on faraway planets. Mega Man's newest battle was about to begin. Also, there's a guy named Proto Man. He's very important. There's also a new robot dog named Rush. He can transform into a Rush Coil, which is kind of just a spring that launches up a little bit higher areas. Rush Marine, which makes its only appearance in this game. It's just helpful in underwater areas. And then there's Rush Jet, which is just a jet. Also, spoiler alert, Proto Man is Mega Man's brother. The robot masters that decided to be pricks this time are Needle Man, Magnet Man, Gemini Man, Hard Man, Top Man, Snake Man, Spark Man, and Shadow Man. That's it for Mega Man 3. This is Mega Man 2, or Rock Man World 2. The story for this game has to do with time travel. That's interesting, right? Devastated by his defeat at the hands of Mega Man, Dr. Wily stole the time machine from the Time-Space Research Laboratory and headed to the future. Dr. Wily's new plan involved kidnapping the future Mega Man and bringing him back in time to fight the present-day Mega Man. While working in the Time-Space Research Laboratory, Dr. Light was made aware of Dr. Wily's plot thanks to Rush's enhanced sense of smell. Dr. Light immediately sent Mega Man to search for Dr. Wily. You fight the remainder of the Mega Man 2 bosses and 4 bosses from Mega Man 3. Then you make your way to another Wily space station. You beat Wily and the bosses in the other levels of the space station, and there you go. There's Mega Man Rock Man World 2. Next up is Mega Man 4. It's my personal favorite NES game. The story for this is a new challenge was presented by the ambitious Dr. Cossack, who, like Dr. Wily before him, wanted to take over the world. Outfitted with the new Mega Buster that Dr. Light had secretly been working on, Mega Man set out to return peace to the 8 cities that had been seized by Dr. Cossack. After defeating the 8 robot masters, Mega Man went on to face Dr. Cossack. But it turns out Dr. Cossack was being manipulated by Dr. Wily, who had kidnapped his daughter, Kalinka. And then you gotta go face Dr. Wily and all that. The robot masters who are being complete assholes this time around are Bright Man, Toad Man, Drill Man, Pharaoh Man, Ring Man, Dust Man, Dive Man, and Skull Man. That's it for Mega Man 4. Next up is Mega Man The Wily Wars, or Rock Man Mega World. The story is as follows. Tired of having his plans foiled every time by Mega Man, Dr. Wily decided to build himself a time machine. Transporting himself to the past, Dr. Wily restored his defeated robots and started causing chaos. At this rate, even the peaceful past was going to be tainted by Dr. Wily's ambitions. In order to stop Dr. Wily, Mega Man was sent into the past in a time machine hastily crafted by Dr. Light. After Mega Man defeated all the bosses from 1 through 3, and the Wily from each game, there was an unlockable thing called Wily Tower, where you defeat 3 more bosses in another Wily Tower. In another Wily castle. The bosses from the Wily Tower are Buster Rod G, Mega Water S, and Hyperstorm H. And that's it for Mega Man The Wily Wars. Next up is Mega Man 3, or Rock Man World 3. The story for this game is, a few months after the difficult struggle with Dr. Wily, some terrible news reached Dr. Light's laboratory. Something strange was happening to the supercomputer that was responsible for managing the details of everyday life. With outrageous weather patterns and a sudden halt in the transportation system, panic consumed the entire city. To make matters worse, armed robots showed up and began wreaking havoc in the streets. In hopes of reclaiming peace, Mega Man headed out to the urban wasteland. In this game, you rehash the rest of the Mega Man 3 bosses and some Mega Man 4 bosses. We also get a new Mega Man killer. His name is Punk, and I really like his design. He actually looks pretty cool. That's it for Mega Man 3, or Rock Man World 3. Next up is Mega Man 5, and here's a story. 2 months had passed since the last battle, and Mega Man was enjoying his well-deserved break from fighting. Then one day, Proto Man showed up with a whole army of mysterious robots behind him and began laying siege to the city. To make matters worse, Proto Man also kidnapped Dr. Light. Why would he do this? Amidst many unanswered questions, the battle between Proto Man and Mega Man begins. Spoiler alert though, Proto Man isn't the bad guy. In Proto Man's castle, the bosses you beat are Dark Man 1, Dark Man 2, Dark Man 3, Proto Man himself, just kidding, Dark Man 4. The robot masters who are being pricks this time are Gravity Man, Wave Man, Stone Man, Gyro Man, Star Man, Charge Man, Napalm Man, and Crystal Man. Napalm Man, actually, he's the reason the game isn't allowed in Vietnam. Because the level is pretty much just Vietnam-based, if you know what I mean, like Vietnam War-based. After you beat Dark Man 4, you go into Wily's castle, do all the stuff there, and then you beat Wily, and that's it for Mega Man 5. Next up is Mega Man 4 or Rock Man World 4. Here's the story. Dr. Light was attending the World Robot Exposition, where scientists from all over the world gathered to present their newest robots. Unbeknownst to the others, Dr. Wily also attended the function and released a special electrical pulse into the crowd. All of the robots who were present went out of control and proceeded to scatter into different regions. Mega Man, who was able to retain his sense of self to his conscience of justice circuitry, immediately headed out to make things right. We get a new Mega Man killer this time around. His name is Ballad. And he's kind of a bad guy towards the beginning, but then after a while he helps Mega Man escape from Dr. Wily's lab because, not Dr. Wily's lab, his space station, because it was kind of a dead end, so he kind of just blew himself up to let Mega Man go. That's it for Mega Man 4. Rock Man World 4, sorry. Next up is Mega Man 5 or Rock Man World 5. The story for this game is, with no recent news on Dr. Wily, the world was slowly forgetting he ever existed. Then a combat robot called Terra suddenly showed up and defeated Mega Man in battle. It was only a few hours later that cities all over the world were being taken over by a group called the Star Droids, who claimed to hail from space. Fully restored, Mega Man equipped his new weapon, the Mega Arm, and headed out to meet his newest adversaries. There's also a new animal companion. He's a cat. His name is Tango. Pretty cool. Dr. Wily is in this game, just to let you know. He reprogrammed from the same era as the Star Droids. He's not a Star Droid himself. His name is Sunstar, or in Japanese, Star God. He is the final boss of the game. The Star Droids are the aforementioned Terra, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune. That's it for Mega Man 5 and or Rock Man World 5. Next up is Mega Man 6. The story for this game is, the year is 20XX. The Global Robot Alliance was formed to oppose Dr. Wily's ambitions for world domination. 1 year later, the very first tournament was held to determine the greatest peace-defending robot. But the event was interrupted when Mr. X, who had been a strong supporter of the Alliance, stole the robots and moved forward with his own plan to take over the world. Will Mega Man be able to stop Mr. X, Wily, before it's too late? In this game, Rush is able to fuse with Mega Man for different forms. You've got Jet Mega Man, which is just a jet, and Power Mega Man, which is helps you break blocks and stuff. The Robot Masters in this game are Blizzard Man, Centaur Man, Flame Man, Night Man, Plant Man, Tomahawk Man, Wind Man, and Yamato Man. After defeating Mr. X, he reveals that he's Wily, which is kind of obvious, and then you go on to defeat Wily. What does Mega Man do? He throws his ass in prison. That's it for Mega Man 6. Next up is Mega Man 7, which is my personal favorite classic Mega Man game. Here's the story for this game. Thanks to Mega Man's efforts, Dr. Wily had been arrested and peace was restored to the world once again. It was only a few months later, however, that an army of Dr. Wily's combat robots stormed the prison where he was being held and proceeded to conquer the surrounding area. Mega Man rushes to the city to find the fugitive Dr. Wily, but then he finds out that there's the robot named Bass that kind of just starts fighting him. Then Bass is like, "Hey, I'm actually a good guy. You're pretty good at fighting." And then Mega Man's like, "Okay, and you can go back to Dr. Light's lab," and he does. Then you fight your first 4 Robot Masters. Then you go to the museum stage where you fight a weird clown robot thing. Then you fight the other 4 Robot Masters. Then you find out that Bass is actually a bad guy and he stole the stuff for Super Mega Man. And then you go on to Wily stuff. You fight Bass a couple of times, and then Bass actually has his own Super Mega Man form. Super Mega Man is pretty much just the the Mega Arm from Mega Man World 5, Rock Man World 5, mixed with Jet Mega Man, so it's Super Mega Man. But Bass isn't like that. He can't I don't think he has the arm thing, but he just mixes with Treble, which is his dog. And then you beat Wily. Mega Man points his buster at Wily. Wily says, "You can't kill me because I'm a human." That goes against the laws. In the English version, Mega Man says he's more than a robot, which is, that part's not canon to the story. So that doesn't really matter. And that's the end of the game. It also has one of the coolest end credit scenes end credits I've ever seen in a game, so. This game also has a new form for Rush called Rush Search, which makes its only appearance in this game. He can just search things on the ground and bring it up for you. The robot masters for this game are Freeze Man, Junk Man, Burst Man, Cloud Man, Spring Man, Slash Man, Shade Man, and Turbo Man. That's it for Mega Man 7. Next up is Mega Man 8. The story for this game is, in an area of space far from Earth, a good robot and an evil robot were locked in a heated battle. The clash finally ended when both combatants simultaneously struck their final blow and fell to Earth. Dr. Light received readings on what appeared to be a meteor that crashed into a deserted island and sent Mega Man to investigate. Upon arriving on the island, Mega Man discovered Dr. Wily's secret base. The good energy, or the good robot, is Duo, and the evil robot, I don't know, because the game is bad, if I'm honest. The robot masters for this game are Tengu Man, Astro Man, Sword Man, Clown Man, Search Man, Frost Man, Grenade Man, and Aquaman. That's it for Mega Man 8. Next up is Mega Man in Bass, or Rock Man Forte, or Mega Man 8.5. The story for this game is, after being defeated by Mega Man yet again, Dr. Wily built himself a castle to aid his attempts at world domination, but soon found his home occupied by a robot calling himself King. Claiming that the world belongs to robots, who are superior to humans in every way, King stated that he would steal all of the data on past robot masters from the Robot Museum. Mega Man and Bass depart to see what they can find out about the situation. The robot masters for this game are Dynamo Man, Cold Man, Ground Man, Pirate Man, Burner Man, King Man, Tengu Man, and Astro Man. That's it for Mega Man 8. Next up is Mega Man 9. The story for this game is, after an unusually long period of peace, robots once again began running amok in various regions of the world. The public assumed it was Dr. Wily, up to his usual antics again, until the Mad Doctor hijacked all major television networks and announced to the world that Dr. Light was the pure culprit. With Dr. Wily's scheme to frame the good doctor in place, Dr. Light's laboratory started getting flooded with phone calls from outraged citizens, and he was soon arrested and taken into custody by the police. Now it was up to Mega Man to clear Dr. Light's name and save the world. Take a stand, once again Mega Man, and put a stop to Dr. Wily's dark ambitions. The robot masters for this game are Concrete Man, Tornado Man, Splash Woman, Plug Man, Jewel Man, Hornet Man, Magma Man, and Galaxy Man. There was a DLC for this game where it was a level, and at the end you fought a guy called Fake Man. He was like a fake police officer. There was also another DLC that added Proto Man to the game. That's it for Mega Man 9. Next up is Mega Man 10. The story for this game is, in the year 20XX, a sudden outbreak of a robot virus known as Robo-Enza spread across the world like a wildfire, incapacitating countless robots. Humans had come to rely on robots in their daily lives, so it wasn't long before the epidemic started having a negative effect on human life as well. Work quickly began on the development of a cure for Robo-Enza, but the lack of robotic assistance quickly halted their efforts in their tracks. Now, 1 month after the initial outbreak, robots driven berserk by the virus had begun attacking cities and setting up strongholds all around the world. As the situation escalates, Dr. Wily arrives at Dr. Light's lab with news of a possible cure. Dr. Wily explains that he has started developing a cure, but that robots driven mad by Robo-Enza stole the equipment vital for producing it. Mega Man, knowing what he must do, takes up arms once again and goes after Dr. Wily's machine, determined to save Roll, which is Mega Man's sister. I completely forgot to mention that in the first game, but yeah, he's Mega Man's sister. The other infected robots, and the world at large. Together with Proto Man, of course, if you decide to play as him. There were also 2 DLCs. A DLC that lets you play as Bass, and another DLC that has Anchor, Punk, and Ballad from the Gameboy games. You can fight them and get their powers. The robot masters for this game are Blade Man, Pump Man, Commando Man, Chill Man, Sheep Man, Nitro Man, Strike Man, and Solar Man. That's it for Mega Man 10. Next up is Mega Man 11. The story for this game is, Wily remembers the gear system that he worked on during his youth, and decides to redevelop it and test it on a bunch of Dr. Light's robots. The gear system makes them faster and stronger, so in order to deal with them, Mega Man needs to fit himself with that same gear system. The robot masters for this game are Block Man, Fuse Man, Blast Man, Acid Man, Tundra Man, Torch Man, Impact Man, and Bounce Man. That's it for Mega Man 11. In Mega Man 5, there was a robot bird called Beat. He was created by Dr. Cossack, the guy who is the quote-unquote villain from Mega Man 4. In the Mega Man Game Boy games, we got introduced to these things called bolts, which could help you purchase things from the shop. The bolts are a further concept in Mega Man 7, where there was a shop owned by a guy named Otto, who was created by Dr. Light. Hopefully that's everything for the classic era. Stay tuned until next time for the stuff from the Mega Man X era, 21XX.